low ambient forest sound, dark screen, first light. Stick with me on this one. What you're about to see rewrites everything you think you know about the sky's two greatest hunters. Right now, somewhere above your head, two of the most advanced hunting machines on the planet are separated by 12 hours and one invisible rule. One rules the day, one rules the night. And if they ever meet in the same patch of sky, beat. It's not the bigger bird that wins. It's not even the faster one. It's the one that was never heard coming. Stay with me. Because the real story here isn't about who's stronger. It's about a secret weapon most people have never even noticed. Immersion and the first mystery. Let's set the scene. It's dusk. The light is dying fast, and for most animals in this forest that means it's time to disappear. Go still. Hide. But for one bird, dusk is the starting gun. The owl. You've probably seen one in a photo. That wide, almost human stare, the flat face, the stillness. But what you're looking at in those pictures is just the surface. The real story is under the feathers, and it's stranger than most people realize. Here's what most people overlook. An owl doesn't hunt with its eyes first. It hunts with something closer to a built-in tracking system. One so precise, it can find a mouse moving under a foot of snow in total darkness, without seeing it at all. Think about that for a second. Beat. No light, no visual, and still a perfect strike. How? That's the mystery we're chasing tonight. And to understand it, you have to understand what the owl is actually built to solve. Silence. Because here's the thing. Every other bird of prey has to deal with a problem the owl doesn't. When a normal bird flaps its wings, air rushes over the feathers and creates turbulence. That turbulence makes noise. To you or me, it might just sound like a soft whoosh. But to a mouse, a creature whose entire survival depends on hearing danger a split second before it arrives, that whoosh is a siren. The owl doesn't have that problem. It flies in near total silence. Scientists who've measured it say an owl in flight can be almost undetectable to the animals it's hunting, even at close range. That's not an accident. That's a design. And while the owl is perfecting the art of not being heard, something very different is happening just a few hours away, under a completely different set of rules. Because when the sun comes up, the night shift ends, and the day shift begins. Enter the hawk. If the owl is a silent tracking system, the hawk is a guided missile, built for open sky, daylight, and raw speed. Where the owl relies on stealth, the hawk relies on eyesight so sharp it can spot a small animal, moving from what would be, for us, an almost impossible distance. Two apex hunters, two completely different toolkits, two completely different clocks. And for most of history, that's exactly why they've barely crossed paths. But barely isn't never, and that's where this story really starts. If your mind is already doing a double take right now, that's usually a good sign you're learning something worth sharing. A quick like helps this kind of story reach more people who'd love it too. The technical diagnostic. So, let's actually open up the toolkit. What makes the owl's silence possible? It comes down to three things working together, and honestly, once you know them, you'll never look at a feather the same way again. First, the leading edge of an owl's wing has a comb-like fringe, like tiny teeth along the front. That fringe breaks up the air before it can build into turbulence. Second, the trailing edge, the back of the wing, has a soft frayed fringe too. Instead of air snapping off the wing sharply, it eases off gradually. And third, this one's my favourite. The surface of the feathers themselves has a velvety, almost fuzzy texture. That texture absorbs sound frequencies that would otherwise bounce off a smooth wing. Three separate systems. One result, a bird that moves through the air like a whisper. But silent flight is only half the equation. The other half is that tracking system I mentioned earlier, and it's built into the owl's face. That flat disc-shaped face isn't just for looks. It works like a satellite dish, funneling sound directly toward the ears. And here's the detail almost nobody knows. In several owl species, the ears aren't lined up evenly. One sits slightly higher than the other. That tiny offset means sound reaches each ear at a fractionally different moment, and the owl's brain uses that gap to calculate exact location, both side to side and up and down. It's the source of the system. A built-in 3D sound map. Meanwhile, the hawk skipped all of that. It didn't need to. Hawks lean almost entirely on vision, binocular, forward-facing eyes that judge distance and speed with incredible precision in daylight. Two different problems, two completely different solutions, and that difference is about to matter a lot more than you'd expect. The hidden struggle. Here's the part of the story that doesn't usually make it into the highlight reel. Because for all its nighttime advantages, the owl has a weakness, and it shows up the moment the sun comes out. In daylight, that silent, stealthy design stops being an advantage. The owl's eyes, built for gathering every scrap of available light in darkness, are far less precise in bright conditions. Its slow, buoyant flight, perfect for sneaking through a dark forest, makes it painfully easy to spot against a daytime sky. And hawks know it. If a hawk finds a roosting owl during the day, the response is rarely a straight fight. More often, it triggers something you might have heard of but never seen up close: mobbing. Other birds, sometimes hawks, sometimes crows, sometimes both, will gather and harass the owl relentlessly, diving close, calling loudly, trying to drive it out of the area entirely. For the owl, caught out of its element, this is a genuinely dangerous moment, not always a fight, but a real high-pressure survival struggle, one that can end badly, especially for young or inexperienced owls still learning the rules of this world. Beat. It's a quiet reminder that even the most perfectly designed hunter has a blind spot. The night belongs to the owl. The day never really has. So what actually happens when an owl and a hawk end up in the same airspace? The truth is, it's rarely the dramatic showdown people imagine. Nature already solved this problem millions of years ago, through timing. There's a narrow window right at dawn and right at dusk when the two schedules almost touch. The hawk is finishing its last hunt of the day, the owl is just waking up. For a few fragile minutes their worlds overlap, and in that window the owl's whole strategy comes down to one thing: being detected first. Because if the hawk spots the owl before the owl senses the hawk, the outcome tilts sharply toward the hawk. Daylight is still on its side. But if the owl's tracking system and near-silent wings let it sense danger and vanish into cover first, the moment passes without incident. No confrontation, no struggle. Just two predators quietly agreeing to stay out of each other's way for one more day. This is the actual secret behind the myth. It was never really about a fight. It was about who notices whom first. Beat. Something no one really talks about. Young owls have to learn this timing the hard way. Fledglings leaving the nest for the first time often don't fully understand the danger a daylight sky represents. Every close call, every early mistake teaches them the boundary between the two worlds a little more precisely. And slowly, generation after generation, that lesson gets passed down. Not through words, obviously, but through instinct, shaped over an almost unimaginable stretch of time. By the time an owl is fully grown, it doesn't think about any of this anymore. It just knows. The moment the light shifts, its whole body responds. Feathers settle, senses sharpen, the tracking system switches on, and somewhere above it, the hawk is already gliding home, its own day complete. Two hunters, two kingdoms, one sky, shared, but almost never at the same time. That, in the end, is the real story most people never notice when they look up. It's not a rivalry. It's a truce written in silence and timing, refined over millions of years, playing out above our heads every single night, whether we're watching or not. So here's what I want to know from you. If you had to choose one of these two systems to survive with, the silent tracker or the daylight speed of the hawk, which one would you trust your life to? Drop your answer below. I read every one of them, and if this pulled you in the way it pulled me in when I first found it, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next mystery. Fade to black.